Hello, everyone. This is the Arch from the Arch Assessment. Along with me, I have CJack of CJack Productions. We are giving you our long-delayed review of the Thunderbolts, aka the New Avengers. Please excuse us for the delayed response to this movie. It's been out for like 3 weeks now, I believe. But life is lifing right now, so we still wanted to get this out regardless. So, CJack, how you doing?
I'm doing okay, man. I'm doing all right. Thanks for
I'm
having me.
hanging in there. I'm maintaining. So life is life, and right now, long story short. So let's get into the latest installment of the MCU, which is the Thunderbolts, New Avengers, if that's what you want to call them too. I'm just gonna stick with Thunderbolts, just cause. So right now, what's interesting about the Thunderbolts is last I checked, as of today, and people in the comments can fact check me if they want. I believe it's only garnered around 350 something odd million globally in the box office, which is not really saying much.
They went past the breaking even threshold, but barely. That's what you're trying to say. That's what you're trying
Yeah,
to say.
I mean, it's not over yet, but it still has yet to beat Brave New World, and you know how everybody loved Brave New World. But let me double check right now if you don't mind.
No, not
So
at all.
I'm
In
looking at.
fact, I'm glad you said that out loud while you're checking. I'm gonna talk to your audience that yeah, man, they basically pulled a who changed their name last minute? Like the Harley Quinn movie. I keep preaching this to everybody online because it was originally called the Harley Quinn movie, and then they changed the title to Harley Quinn in some long, ridiculous title.
You're talking about the Birds of Prey movie?
Yeah, they decided to
Yeah.
call it Birds of Prey. In fact, now I think about it,
Oh yeah. Only difference is I think they did that from the beginning before the movie dropped.
this is
Whereas
true.
this is like some kind of promotional gimmick, I guess you want to call it.
Mm.
I mean, well, it explains the asterisk next in their Thunderbolts. That
Yeah, I was wondering
explains
about
why.
that too. Like, is it the Thunderbolt? No, is it Thunderbolts or the Thunderbolts? Like, I didn't read into the whole New Avengers thing, which is clever.
Well, as of today, it's only garnered 355 million according to boxofficemojo.com. It's only at 355 million strong. From what I read, it would have to hit 4 to 500 million just to break even, which I'm not sure it will do or not. But hey, it is what it is. So we'll see. But anyway, with that being said, let's start off at the very beginning. I've noticed lately this year so far in 25, the MCU is doing variations of the Marvel Studios intro logo. We didn't get that in Brave New World. We just got Marvel Studios Presents. This one is a slight deviation, which I kind of thought was interesting. They played the music, and then it slowly dimmed, and the logo goes black, which I didn't know at the time is a foreshadowing of the void and depression and mental health. Did you peep that?
Yeah, because the logo got black. And if you look real closely, what I also noticed when I watched the film, and I had to look online, it took me hard to research it. It was, you know how the pages flip?
Yeah.
It was all Century. So
Yeah.
the comic
Yeah,
character. Yeah, I did not, I didn't see, I saw, wait, am I seeing the same person? It started off as a pattern, but I wasn't sure at first. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah. So I peeped that from the very beginning. So that was like, okay, that's interesting. I'm just expecting the typical MCU standard fare, but I think
Right.
they're doing something in Fantastic Four. I would imagine it's going to probably have something a different MCU intro logo. It's going to be blue and it's going to have that retro future thing going on. So I'm
Yeah,
curious
that
to see.
70s, 80s, not even the 80s, 70s, 60s look. Right.
I would say 60s, but yeah. But so we get the first shot of Yelena, and the whole film, it just has a grayish. The quality of the film just has a grayish hueish, and I think that's intentional. It just goes to show the theme of the movie. Of course, it deals with mental health, yada 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 yada. I like the first shot of it showing Yelena, just going through the motions, doing her field work, jumping off that building. And Florence Pugh really did some of those stunts by herself. She had to really beg Kevin Feige to let her do that, which was kind of a risky move. But she jumped off and she's just doing her standard fare. She's doing stuff for Val, where she's trying to erase traces of her dealings with Project Century. And she's just cleaning house. There's nothing to her. She's just going through the motions. She's talking about how she's just trying to distract herself with work. She's depressed, bored, lonely.
Yeah.
And she thinks burying herself in work is the answer. And in a weird kind of way, and I'm not proud to admit this, I see a little of myself in Yelena, not killing people, obviously.
No,
But
no red room syndrome, but no, you just it's a good escape. Like it's not healthy, but it's an escape. That's all it is. But go ahead.
But it's not the answer. So she's doing her thing, and the guy, one of the scientists, is telling her is like Val is making a mistake. She doesn't understand what Project Sentry is, and of course, Yelena is just hired muscle. She doesn't care. She's not really listening.
It's another job, right?
It's just another job to her. And she, and I thought it was kind of cute that she took like one of the, was it a dog or
a hamster? Like a little hamster or something.
It was a little hamster she took. So I thought that was cute. And it was a little dark that one of the scientists actually got killed. The other one she was talking to in the beginning.
Before you continue, she taped up this one dude.
Taped up his mouth.
Yeah, she was like, "What are you doing?" Like he can talk. It was funny.
So we get through that, and then she stops by and sees Alexei, aka the Red Guardian, comes and visits him, and he's running some side limo service. And I thought that was so nasty when he was washing his mouth out. It was so literally. I was like, dude,
bruh. Everything was wrong about that. Just a minute, I have to, how do you say, clean up? And I'm like, dude, you did everything, but you have bills past due in your fridge. If you're trying to hide that, you did a terrible job. Anyway.
Yeah. But what did you think about that conversation him and Yelena were having? Because Yelena was talking about she was only going to do one more job for Val. He wants to work. He said he wanted to work for Val because Alexei, he's still caught up in prestige and glory and
Alexei is doing what every man should not try to do. I just noticed this is my OCD. Alexei, seriously, he's doing everything what a man should not do is have like a midlife crisis. He's not reliving the past, not accepting his future, so to speak. He just wants to like, I still got it. I can still do this. You know what I'm saying? He's outdated. He's stuck in himself. Sorry, you get me all the time. Yeah,
but I think he still like craves like glamour and recognition and all that stuff. So
that part.
How he keeps like talking about the Thunderbolts, and I like the whole story behind Yelena's childhood soccer team. I thought that was interesting. And was there something else from that conversation we need to pull from because it was about purpose.
She mentioned that she was feeling empty. And everything that she's loved in a nutshell is taken from her, which we already knew, like from Natasha being dying and all that stuff. Right. And that's pretty much it. No, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. And then she called up Val. She was going to do one last job. Oh, before we get to that, Val's in a impeachment hearing. And
that's right.
Yeah, Val's
like,
no, go ahead.
And she was like, guys, and it was the cold sterile truth. If you're waiting for one of the Avengers to walk through that door, there are no Avengers. And obviously Bucky came through, but he's not the team. It's just Bucky Barnes, So,
he's a politician now, so which is interesting in itself. Like he goes from Winter Soldier to politician, which I thought was interesting, but we don't need to get into that right now. But he's like the last remnant, or at least one of the last remnants of the Avengers. Granted, he's not an OG Avenger. The only OG Avengers left are Thor and Hulk and Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Yep, that's pretty much it. And we don't know right now. We don't know where Thor is. He's off playing stepfather in another planet somewhere. Mm-hmm. We don't know where Hulk is at the moment. Last time we saw him was in She-Hulk, and he had his son Scar over.
Briefly, that was it. Yeah.
And Clint Barton, last we saw him was at the end of the Hawkeye series where he brought Kate Bishop over with his family, and it was kind of like
and he's talking about retiring anyway. That's the whole point of her character.
Yeah, so we don't know if we'll see Jeremy Renner back again as Clint Barton or not. You know what I'm saying? That remains to be seen. Last I heard, it didn't go too well with negotiations with Hawkeye season 2 because they tried to lowball Renner, and he wasn't feeling that. So I hope they can come to some kind of agreement. I'm not ready to see Clint Barton go either yet, me personally. Yeah. But not to get too sidetracked on that. So Val, a.k.a. Elaine from Seinfeld, that's what I'm going to call her, Elaine.
She really is, though, man. You can't – go ahead.
She's Elaine to me. I don't care.
Elaine. Yeah. Evil Elaine.
That's just who she is. But anyway, she is very slippery. and in a way, I gotta respect it. I hate her character because she's real sneaky and slippery, but she is very good at showing saving face because she knows there's a chance she can be cooked. Because she said, "Go ahead." She tries to call people's bluffs, and she's like, "Go ahead, search." And then the next time you see her talking to her assistant Mel, like, "Get rid of everything right now."
Yeah, she still got it. She's basically the MCU's Amanda Waller, a dark sense of humor to her. Oh yeah, there's no nuclear warheads, blah blah. Impeach me, do this. Here's the keys to my place. I want you to hide everything and burn my software. You know what I'm saying? Like she'll do, yeah.
But yeah, man, she cracks me up. But she's giving what's her name? Elena one last job. Because she had to go, it was under the guise of sneaking up, finding this target, finding out what they're looking for, and then once you find out the information, kill them. Little does Elena know this is what's the word I'm looking for? A suicide mission, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, because everybody's complaining.
Set her up.
Yeah, what Elena doesn't know is she's not the only operative working under Val. You know, and as we come to find out, we got not just Elena, we got Ghost, who she's going after, Taskmaster,
U.S. agent,
John Walker, and yeah, that's it. So they're all in there, and they're going down this in Utah, going down some facility that's a mile down.
Yeah, it's an engine testing facility, and it was designed to incinerate them.
Yeah, so it was all one big ploy to get everybody to kill each other off, and then incinerate all the evidence. So Yelena was supposed to kill Ghost. John Walker, aka U.S. agent, was supposed to kill Yelena, and then Taskmaster was supposed to kill Walker. You know what I'm saying? So
perfectly enough job.
Setup. You know, so and what was interesting was there was I found out, I looked at another video. I'm not going to say their name, but I looked at another video, and they said there was an interesting sequence in that whole fight where, like, there was a sequence where the attacks were happening, and it was tagging in.
I got it.
So kill each other.
Taskmaster threw a knife, which is thick as hell, phased through, but caught in mid-blade, threw the blade back at. Give me a minute. Wait, damn,
Walker.
I'm trying to do this.
Well, no. So Taskmaster. So I think Taskmaster tried to throw something at Ghost. Ghost phased out.
Mm-hmm.
Walker caught it, and then he tried to kill Yelena with it.
That's what it was. Thank you. That's the formation.
That's what I think would happen. That's why, if I remember right, that's what I believe would happen.
Which is pretty badass.
Yeah, it was dope. So I think that was very intentional. And then somewhere in the process, Bob's chamber got unlocked, and that's how we got out. We didn't see it right away. We got something to get hit, but you know what I'm saying? But that's how Bob got out. And we come to find out he's the only test subject that survived Project Century, but not to jump into Bob just quick. Taskmaster gets took out, as we expected.
Yeah, because just easily too. Unlike, this is anticlimactic. If they're going for maybe an upgrade of Taskmaster being a guy, maybe doing it the right way. I don't know why MCU does this. Fine, I'm all for it. If not, this is messed up. Like, he's supposed to have, just by visual, copy everybody's abilities with the human ability, which is a waste of talent to me. That's all. Anyway. It just bothered me.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, some people seem that they were cool with Taskmaster getting killed. I don't know. This is just me talking. It didn't sit right with me. I agree with you. It kind of I felt away about it a little bit, just a little bit. And I kind of feel for the actress who played Taskmaster, because even though she might not necessarily been a fan favorite amongst many, I just feel like if I was that actress and I got shortchanged like that, and I got to still go out and promote this movie, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't want to speak for Olga. I can't pronounce her last name. Olga
something. You can forget. Ask me.
I'm sorry if I'm butchering her last name. I know I'm butchering her last name bad, but I would just imagine if I was in her shoes, I would probably feel away. That's just
I got nothing. Yeah.
You know. Then again, I'm on the outside looking in. She probably got that check and may not even care that much, but whatever.
True.
So there's that too. I don't know, but it just feels weird. But what I heard was, whoever wrote the script for Thunderbolts, they said that was not the final version they envisioned.
I heard rumors, but I wasn't sure how solid that was. Yeah.
So, and it was kind of disrespectful. They were just looting her corpse and taking her webs on top. I'm like, bro, this is just wild, man. But anyway, Doesn't seem like an unceremonious death. And I think they said they purposely killed her off just to show how serious the stakes were. But okay, whatever. Yeah. But then we meet Bob, and he's introducing himself. And then when we find out, and we already know, true fans know who that is. We know that was Sentry, even from the trailers. I was like, oh, they're bringing Sentry into this.
Yeah.
Did you know Invincible was supposed to play Sentry?
Did not know that.
Stephen Yeun was a. He was originally cast in the project. He was originally cast in this project, right? And they said he was supposed to be in a special role. I don't know how that would have translated.
I know that now. Yeah.
And then the black girl from the show The Bear was supposed to play Mel's part.
Okay. Interesting casting. All right.
Yeah. So something happened and they had to drop out at the last minute. I forget. I don't know the reasoning. I forget what the reasoning was.
They just dropped it. Yeah.
And then anyway, so we meet Bob and he's all awkward and Walker is already being a dick to him. Their dynamic.
He's a default asshole. And they're trading quips back and forth like out in Captain America. And then Yelena was like, yeah, for about 5 minutes. There's circumstances behind that.
Yeah. But Walker was funny though, because he still had an overinflated sense of self-importance. He still thought he was going to be quote unquote rescued and they were going to come get him. I was like, dude, you don't get it. Someone else tried to kill you too, which means you're expendable.
Right.
You are not as special as you think, man. Contrary to popular belief, the fact that there's other people working under her should have told you that. That's my opinion. But
you're a goon.
But they were smart enough to figure out quick enough they were getting played and used against each other. So the remaining Thunderbolts plus Bob worked together to get out. So they figured a way out. Ghost could have left them hanging, but she opened it up so they can get out just in time. And then they had another obstacle, like how to get out since they were a mile down.
Right.
Walker thinks he can jump up through there, and that didn't work out well.
No, it didn't.
Ghost can.
I remember that.
Yeah, and he fell right back down. And Ghost can't do it because she'll risk. She has to see where she's going, and she could risk like getting stuck inside the wall. So that's not a good look. That's not a good idea. So Bob only had the best idea, is that they were going to have to come together like an asterisk and crawl their way up at best. But I thought that whole sequence where when they finally got to the top and Walker made a risky executive decision that could have risked everybody else, and that whole sequence and Bob trying to sneeze, and Bob was getting ready to sneeze and I was going to risk everything. And
that was too funny with that shit.
The way that played out. So Ghost fell, Yelena was held on to Ghost, and Yelena caught Bob.
like
yeah, and he still sneezed at the end, so I thought that was funny.
That was good, funny.
But what's interesting was, what did you think about the whole thing when Walker before they climbed up, what did you think about Walker slamming Bob against the wall and then he saw his eyes?
Dude, that was a trip, right? Because I was like, okay. And he was just in shock. I thought it was cool. It was a cool scene. Like even he can be surprised. That was me.
Walker was like, wait a minute, this guy's not who he seems to be.
Right. And he took note right away. He wasn't sure how, but he was like, you know what I'm saying? He was like,
okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when Walker touched Bob again, every time you touch Bob, you got to get back to one of your darkest memories. And Walker's like revisiting time where he was just from as far as grace as Captain America. He's doom scrolling through his phone, depressed, not paying attention to the infant.
Without a purpose. That's you can see the trend of this movie. These are a bunch of losers, and I'm calling it what it is, that have no direct sense of direction to do with their destinies. Like, and I'm gonna narrate real quick. U.S. agent, you're a fraud. You're a pretender, Captain America. Obviously, again, you have Guardian. He's reliving his past, thinking he's still there. And you know what I'm saying? I can go down the list. Taskmaster, everybody. There's something wrong with everybody in this group, and they all happen to come together. I think that's interesting.
Well, the issue is they all have dark past.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm just saying in general. Yeah.
And so he's fighting with his wife because she's nagging him about not directly looking at the baby, even though he's right there. And so that was the whole thing. And then Yelena's looking at Walker like, "Yo, Walker, are you good?" And he was just like, "Yeah, sure." And there was a lot of speculation that it looked like he was contemplating suicide.
Yeah. Because I was thinking, like, is he going to die in this too? That's how dark he looked. I was like, okay, whatever, bro.
Yeah. And then by the time they finally get up, that's when they get cornered by the Ox team, Val's Ox team.
Ox team, yeah.
Oxy team or whatever they're called. And and then they had what do you think of that whole sequence of them trying to like maneuver their way out?
They you know what? It was well for a team that's not the first time they're becoming a team, they are well coordinated trying to get out of that. It was mid difficulty, considering they don't know each other. I thought it was cool.
After this thing is wild, 1 second, an hour ago, y'all were getting ready to kill each other, but then y'all coming together like working as a unit. I think you got to operate in those great when you're in the military or you're in some kind of special forces or you're some kind of operative of some sort. You got to be willing. I think Bird Notice taught us that too. Yes, you got to be willing to, like, you could be beefing with some dude to the point where you're getting ready to kill him, but then the next hour you may have no choice but to work alongside him as allies.
It's cliche, but it's the old school, like, your back's against the wall, like, okay, we'll put our differences aside for now. Let's deal with this. And, they had to keep breathing.
It's wild, so that's always been an ill thing to me to see. But anyway, so I like the whole situation where they're fighting their way out. Yelena's keeping Bob close to her. Walker, like, dismantled, like, some of the agents coming in.
Yeah.
And that was the whole thing. The thing didn't always go according to plan. And because Elena was trying to shut off the lights or something like that, shut off the power.
She did something like that. Yeah, cut the
something
power.
Happened. Something was wrong with the grid or the power or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put on some of those uniforms themselves to disguise themselves on the way out. And they thought Ghost was going to ghost them again.
That part, right.
And Ghost thankfully came through, and they got out of there. And what did you think of that whole sequence when they were almost out in the clear, but then the guy was interrogating Walker? What did you think Walker was saying? No.
Yeah, it was the real shit that needed to be said. Like, it was like.
But I don't know what else he could have did differently or better.
No, thank you. I'm like,
everybody was like clowning and criticizing Walker, like critic wise. It was like, man, Walker was funny as hell when he did that. But I'm like, well, what more could he have did, or what would have been a better solution?
I think they're forgetting. There's limitations what he can do, but that's just me.
Yeah. But then we see Bob make a sacrifice play.
So he saw him.
Yeah, distract him from getting out. And he was waving a gun and he got shot. I knew he was. We all knew he wasn't going to die. We saw it in the trailer. So what do you think of that whole thing of him flying up in the air uncontrollably, and even Elaine?
That was so fun. It basically what it reminds me of. Do you remember Greatest American Hero back in the 80s? And he couldn't fly right.
Yeah.
Like that. Thank you. That was how awkward it was.
Yeah. So Bob still doesn't have control of his powers. He's doing things. It's in him, but he doesn't know how to channel it properly yet. And he flies up for a minute, and then he crashes again, so he gets captured. And Val is going to take him over to back to her new tower that what used to be known as the Avengers Tower.
Yeah, everyone. It used to be Stark, then Avengers, and then now who knows what it's going to be now? Like
they called it something I forget, Watchtower or something like that.
The Watchtower, yes. Yeah. And I think DC needs to have a conversation with them about that. But that's just me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. But their Watchtowers in space, so I'll let that slide. And she's over here being the Machiavellian villain, like, have a martini with me. I'm surprised you guys all survived my death trap, and they all are pissed at her, rightfully so.
Oh, hold on, you're getting too far ahead.
Yeah.
But then, so it's just Ghost, Elena, and Walker just walking through the desert, just chilling. Yeah. And then they get rescued by Lexi because Lexi overheard the whole conversation. Remember, because he was driving.
That's right. Yeah.
He was driving Val, so he overheard it, so he knew where to go. So they get picked up by Alexi in the red limo. And,
the red limo.
So everybody's chilling, and Alexi's still on the Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts. He's
Yeah,
on. He's on. He's such a dude. He's the ultimate hype man. That's all I
yeah,
think. Anyway.
yeah. He just wants that recognition so bad. I was like,
Oh,
dude,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway.
You know what he reminds me of? Did you watch Entourage?
Yes.
In
Yes.
a sense,
And yes, I know you're talking about like and
he
Mark
kind of reminds me of
Mark
Johnny Drama a little bit.
Yeah, he does.
Alexi reminds me of Johnny Drama somewhat.
So,
Kind of.
not exact. His enthusiasm is there. That's what it is. But go ahead.
Yeah. But he's like that dude that was like trying to hold on to former glory, and he's still trying to relive his former glory years. That's who Alexi reminds. He reminds me of Johnny Drama in a sense.
That's definitely Alexi. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so they're driving off. They're driving off, and then they get chased by convoys. Val's convoy, group of her guys, and they're trying to fight them off. Walker's holding them off with the shield. Ghost tries to do something, and they had some kind of I don't know what they call that thing when it throws off her equilibrium, those sonic speakers or whatever.
Some kind of some EMP sonic thing that messes up your brain.
Some EMT, whatever you want to call it.
I know. I know you're talking about.
Unless they try to throw a Molotov cocktail, that did nothing.
Old school, right?
Yeah, Elena tried to shoot at him. Elena for a minute thought she did something with the gun, only to find out it was Bucky from behind on his Terminator 2 tip.
We're getting there. How do you feel about Red Guardian? Like, oh my God, it's Bucky Barnes. Like, he's his biggest fan, dude.
Yeah. But Bucky, I was getting strong Terminator 2 vibes from Bucky.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But I like that whole thing. So Bucky's whole thing was he wants them to testify against Val. Because as we saw, Bucky was plotting on Val. He was very suspicious of Val. Mm-hmm. Even during her little gala shindig thing she had going on, even after all the hearings, Val's still trying to win people over. And we saw that
and the squad owes no loyalty to her, which is why I'm thinking it's interesting that, hey, I need you to testify, and they wouldn't go to court for it, which is wild to me. Granted, they were like, there was a better way than trying to blow them up doing it, but nonetheless, you would think they would want to cooperate. Nobody wants.
Yeah. Remember, Bucky was talking to Mel on the side too, because he was trying to get Mel to turn on her, and like Mel, give me something, because you could tell Mel was conflicted as well.
Right. Yeah.
Like, yo, my boss is bugging right now. She's doing the most right now. This is wild.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, but you find out. But I like that whole thing when Mel was telling Val in the limo. Mm-hmm. Do you think they may have gotten together? And Val's like, come on, really?
That was funny. It's like, no. Well, but you saw her face though. You were like this. No. Like, wasn't sure. Not so sure about that answer. I saw that.
No, but then remember, Mel handed over to that because I think they kind of teamed up because she showed her the footage of them working together.
Oh, true.
Yeah. That's how that played out, and
that's true.
I was like, oh, great,
right? Because remember, Bucky is pretty old, like Cap too.
He's the same age as Cap. Yeah,
exactly.
He came. I think Bucky technically, if we want to get technical, Bucky, I think he had a little bit more age on Cap. Steve Rogers.
He got frozen. Yeah, he got frozen, released. No,
I'm saying what I mean. I'm not even talking about the froze release thing. I'm talking about from the very beginning when they were born.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Cap was born in 1918. Steve Rogers, Cap, and I think if I remember reading somewhere, I think Bucky was born in 1917. If I remember right.
Got a couple years.
If you want to get technical.
Technical, yeah.
But anyway, so Bucky is plotting on trying to get Val arrested, so he's trying to gather evidence. So that's why he ran up on the Thunderbolts, because he needs them to testify, and that's why he had them hemmed up.
You don't have to drag your ass down to court, literally. Yeah.
So Bucky's got the Thunderbolts hemmed up, and he's like, and that's when they're trying to tell him about Project Century. They're telling him about Bob, what's going on, and Bucky's like, yeah, all right, I get it, Bob, scary guy, dangerous. Yeah. So that whole thing, and then remember, remember when he was talking to him, he got a call from Mel, because that's when Val had Bob in her tower, and that's when Val was working on the whole Century thing, and you could tell Mel was very uncomfortable with this, because she thought Val is dealing with something that she doesn't understand.
That part.
All Val's thinking about is, oh, I can use this so he can be my superhero. So he can be I can replace him, replace the Avengers with this guy. He can be our all package in one deal, whatever. And the thing is, I think Mel read the files on the Sentry too. She's like, yo, this guy is dangerous.
There was okay. Even back in the incineration tunnel, there was Project Sentry all over the place. But anyway.
Yeah. But so Mel knew this was bad idea, and that's when she called Bucky again. And then that's when they head over to infiltrate raid the tower. And what'd you think of that whole sequence when it was Red Guardian and Bucky that were sitting up front and everybody else was in the back? And what'd you think of Red Guardian and Bucky trading war stories about the super serum?
That's what I was getting at. Yeah, because he was like, "Oh yeah, I did this when I had the super soldier serum. Well, I'm a better version of it. You know, you guys were just pretty much a knockoff." But that's when Bucky was defending it. You know, it was a testicle tournament. They're like, "Who's the better super soldier?" In my mind.
Yeah. And then they were like, "So what's the plan?" And then even Bucky was like, "Plan." And they did. That's when they ran through there and they
said plan. Yeah.
And yeah, so I like that whole sequence. And Val's like, "Just come up through the elevator, guys. God, I just had this place."
Yeah. She's always like, can you watch your step, please? Right.
Yeah, like Walker had that same look on his face that Ace Ventura had at the end of the first one when he was beating up the mascot. He was just
I forgot about that. That thing was so funny. Sorry, man. You took me back.
And then they go up to the lobby, and then they go upstairs. They'll take the elevator up all the way up, and then that's when they see Val. They confront Val. And Val's is sitting there being cocky and arrogant as usual. And Bucky's being the level-headed one. Everybody else is all pissed off, and rightfully so. And I like Walker's exchange with her. He's like, "We're taking you in, Val." And then she's like, "I think not, Dollar Store Captain America, JV Captain America." And Walker was getting ready to pull out the blicky, and Barnes and Bucky had to chill him out, like, Walker, chill.
Right, that part. Yeah.
But that was funny, and Yelena was cursing her too. And then that's when we see Bob in full-blown Sentry come down.
Here we go.
What do you think of that whole sequence?
First of all, he didn't have to do. You know what? And Walker keeps taking L's. First Wakanda with the Captain America shield, then Sentry.
Oh, you're talking about with the Dora Milaje, his brief exchange with the Dora Milaje.
Yeah, that scene. He needs. U.S. agent is the most arrogant. He needed his ego checked. Seriously, and that's coming a lot from me. And he was like, "Man, I don't need this shit from you. I'm still better than you. I don't care if you can fly." He didn't say that, but he might as well have, And it was just, necessary.
No, I think Red Guardian tried to set it off because like Sentry was on the side of Val, like, guys, he said something like, guys, just turn yourselves in. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And Red Guardian wasn't trying to hear it. He's like, Thunderbolts, enough of this talk. And of course, they all get dealt with. You know what I'm saying? They can't do nothing with Bob. Bob is too fast, too strong. And they're just, it's
he
just
can
like
fly for starters. Fucking Bob.
Yeah, not only that, he can flick her out just as quick as Ghost.
No, it's true.
There was nothing they could do. They were cooked. There was nothing they could do, and they just.
That's all I got, man.
Damn, we just got a butt handed to us. He bended Walker's.
Now that's what I was getting at. Now he bent Walker's shield. He was like, "What are you doing? There, get away from me."
Bucky was still trying to get up, like he was about to do something, taking his jacket off and all this stuff. Like there was nothing they could do. They were just cooked.
Mind you, him and Guardian both got super soldier serums, and they still got manhandled.
Yeah. It pales in comparison. Well, what's wild is, but here's the part that was wild. The Sentry thing was just the super soldier serum. The only difference is it was done on someone who was mentally unstable.
Yeah.
That's the only difference.
That's true. That's very true.
Then again, why can he fly and all this stuff, but Bucky and all them can't? I don't understand. Maybe there were some modifications done to the serum. I don't know.
Well, we gotta remember, are you talking about between Red Guardian and Bucky, or?
No, I'm talking about Red Guardian and Bucky versus the Sentry, because the Sentry's thing was just a version of the super soldier serum, right?
Yeah. It's the purest form, And what was the side effects? Because the problem is there's several stories of the side effects of that serum. That's the problem. So yeah, maybe it cause them to fly, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it depends on which version you're talking about. There's a version of Super Soldier of Sentry, where his hair is longer. There's one that's like my hair. It depends.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But then they go back down, and then they have that old speech, and Yelena's crashing out. She's like, yeah, we suck. Y'all suck. She's cursing Ghost. She's cursing Walker. And she's like, and then she just walks off, and then she's complaining to Red Guardian how she just her life is meaningless. She's so alone. And I like that scene between Alexei and Yelena. And Alexei, as goofy as he is, he has his moments where he tells us, I don't see your flaws. And it's like, do you remember why you always wanted to play goalie in the soccer team? Because you wanted to be that person everybody else could count on. And
that part. And who wants to be that? Right.
Yeah. So I thought that was a real touching moment. And then that's when we cut back to Val was talking to Sentry. And Val is still trying to control Sentry, and Sentry's basically why do I need to listen to you if I got all these powers?
That was the biggest question. She had to know you gotta have some kind of.
Val's arrogant too. She's short-sighted. She's only thinking about her being. And remember, Val had a moment with the Void too. Remember,
that's true. Yeah,
her dad got killed in front of her, and it explains a lot to how she is who she is today.
Val should have had some kind of trump card, at least with Amanda Waller. She has something on somebody in order to make the Suicide Squad obey them. That's the only thing I didn't like about this movie. She was just a naive idiot.
Wait, no, hold on. Val had the same thing too. The problem is she didn't use it quick enough. Remember? Because remember when he was talking,
I forgot about that.
Remember when he was talking, you're absolutely right. He started making sense, and then remember Val and her arrogance was like, "Oh, great, here we go," and she had it behind her back.
That's right. You're absolutely right, Arch. I forgot about that. Because she was like this. Okay.
But she just didn't do it quick. Yeah, but she had it behind her back.
Yeah.
She didn't have it out in front. She had it in the back.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
But even
she had the right idea. Then you were right. She had the right idea. She didn't execute it quick enough. That was it.
Yeah. Sentry, but Sentry got her. And then thankfully Mel came up from behind and activated it and knocked him out, only for him to turn into the Void version of himself.
That's true. Yeah.
So what do you think about the Void? So what do you think about the Void attacking the city?
It's basically the Blip 2.0. Until they discovered, spoiler alerts, guys, until they discovered it doesn't kill you, it takes you to another dimension. I mean, obviously the Void, that's why it's called that. Oh, this is fuck.
Oh, CJ, hold on. Hold on, guys. We got a little bit of technical difficulties here. CJ will be back as soon as possible. CJ, you there?
Yep. Look at you.
Something happened.
What happened here?
Hello?
Yeah, I can see you just fine. It might be in your head. Damn,
but you were on a roll. But you were saying, you were saying something about the Void.
Oh, the Void. Basically, to answer your question, it was cool to tell that Sentry was all blackened, and you saw in the previews, like in the previews, you saw that huge giant ass shadow covering New York. And what I was saying was that at first I was thinking people were getting erased. Literally, no, it was literally going into a Void, the Blip 2.0. That's all I got.
And I'm glad that's all it was because I thought it could have been worse.
Yes.
But it was enough of a problem where the Thunderbolts had to take action. They tried to help the civilians as best they could. Red Guardian started lifting up boulders to try to cover other people. And what do you think of that moment when he said that little girl was like, okay, you're safe, little one. And then she got voided. That was kind of cold right there.
I know. Broke my heart. I felt for that person though, dude.
Because and then I like the whole Red Guardian help Yelena jump and carry somebody else. Ghost save somebody. Bucky save somebody. And then Walker.
The arm scene and everybody.
Walker
all they could do. Yeah.
And then Walker was holding this whole big slab by himself. and then everybody else came in to help him out and join him.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when everybody saw them in action, and then everybody started applauding them, and they're looking around like, "Oh snap!"
Part.
Wait a minute. Are we the heroes now?
Right, are we doing this now? Are we good guys? Right.
We get a little bit of confusion on the face, like, oh wow. But then Yelena walks into the void, and Alexi, of course, freaks out because he thought he lost her, understandable. And then Bucky and Walker had to chill him out, you know what I'm saying? And then we see Yelena going through the void. She's reliving her darkest memories when she had to kill that little girl as her first test.
I know.
And then she's reliving the training as a Black Widow, where they have to assemble like guns at a certain time, and everybody else that doesn't finish first, they get their hands slapped.
It was weird. Just that part.
Yeah, so that was the thing. And I thought the whole sequence when Elaine was confronting herself when she was drunk by the bathtub, and that was very interesting. When she was forcing herself to drink and all that, I was like, oh wow.
It got dark real quick, man.
And then she was seeing Bob in the mirror, and like, damn, man, I feel like Lewis Pullman really pulled this off good, like, because he had me really feeling, because I really felt bad for Bob, man.
Bob had the short end. It made you sympathize who Sentry was, man. Like, obviously, he was being manipulated as Sentry, but more in depth in the character itself. Yeah, I agree.
Like his parents, you know what I'm saying, were abusing him. Like they were verbally and physically abusive.
He had a shitty ass life. Yeah.
And he just just his whole body language, like he just looked like he was just in a lot of emotional pain, man. I just felt really bad for him. Yeah. And that's the empathy, that's the empathetic me side of me talking. And then outside the void, meanwhile, the rest of the Thunderbolts outside the void still are talking. And that's when Walker mentions he saw something in Bob earlier in the movie. And that's when he finally mentions his brief experience in the void. And they all end up going over there to save Yelena and Bob. And that's when they're fighting all them forces. And then we learn more about Bob. And I didn't know at first that the chicken with the sign, I didn't know that was Bob too.
Did not know that. I did, yeah.
That was supposed to be Bob himself in that chicken outfit.
Yeah, the chicken. Yeah, he had a shitty ass life working at that side gig. Yeah, no wonder. I mean, it's no wonder he got experimented on. He wanted to have a purpose. Anyway.
And then, what do you think of the whole sequence where? But what do you think of Bucky's comment? Like, oh, I didn't say nothing. I had a good life.
Dude, he was obviously trolling. But Bucky has a messed up past as Logan did as Weapon X. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. And then, what do you think of the whole sequence when they meet the void, they confront the void in the void again, and
it gave more context to the whole movie, and it basically everything came full circle. What this movie was about, like a lot about redemption and guilt,
Yeah. Well, yeah, like the void just tells him, like when Bob was fighting the void, it was just like it's just me and you. Nobody cares. You're alone. You're always going to be alone. That's what depression tells you. Basically, you're alone, even though
it was a depressed. I mean, I expected this movie to be kind of dark, but I didn't think it was gonna be depressing either. So, yeah, that's all it was. Like, yeah.
So, what did you think of that whole sequence when Bob was beating the void down, but he was getting consumed by the void at the same time?
Believe it or not, it was a lot of excellent CGI work, just for the starters, and it's basically symbolizing himself as like, I'm going to overcome this. Basically, I'm going to be top dog, whatever, because he was very bound and determined to beat this thing, because whether you know it or not, from the chicken outfit till now, Bob has always beat this. And he's always been that guy to actually try to, I don't know what keeps him going. You know what I mean? He's like a loser. He's a straight up loser. But he keeps going. That's the difference with Bob.
Mm-hmm. So. But they the Thunderbolts, Yelena broke out free first, and then they did their Care Bears We Care moment where they were all
Care Bears stare. Yeah.
Care Bears stare. That was their version of hugging them and pulling out. Yelena does it first, then Walker, and then the rest come out and they pull them back. And then that's when they somehow come back to reality. And of course, Bob doesn't remember nothing. Remember?
Which is insane to me. It's wild to me he does it.
And everybody's looking at him like, wait, what?
Like, right?
Yeah, and then Elena's like, come on, Bob. And then like, you're going to be next near me from now on. And then that's when they're getting ready to confront what's her name, Val, and Val being a slippery self once again, because Val, you could tell the wheels were turning in Val's mind when everybody started clapping for the Thunderbolts when they were saving everybody from the concrete drops. You could see right then the wheels were turning in their mind.
Dude, right, and they're contemplating everything.
She was having a moment. So she flipped that and used that as press to say that these are the new Avengers. What did you think of that whole moment?
Dude, I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Because it explains the asterisks. It was interesting, yeah.
Yeah. So I was just like, okay. So I still feel a little conflicted about how I feel about the whole flip about them being the new Avengers. But then again, right now, and not to, no, I know I'm jumping ahead of myself, but I liked how it was played, even though I don't know how I feel about the Thunderbolts being like the quote unquote new Avengers. I thought that in itself was interesting in itself, like the way that was played out. And of course, Yelena says, "We own you now," to Val. Remember that?
Yeah.
And then everybody else is looking at each other.
Everybody else is crazy.
And of course, everybody else is looking confused, like what? But Bob was the only one clapping.
That part, yep.
Yeah. So, what'd you think of the end credit sequence when it showed all the newspaper clips? Like,
that was awesome. It was awesome for itself. Which one? There's two ending credit scenes.
No. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about in the credits.
Oh, in the credits, yeah. I thought it was cool. It was like basically all the footage and all this BS, and it was needed. It was awesome. I just love that because it gave it like a story. You know what I mean? It's like this is what happens. You know, they have it like in a news printout. I thought
it was interesting that you got ahead of it by saying like how some people were questioning calling them the B-Vengers and all that stuff. So I think that was their way of getting ahead of it for like the fans who were gonna have like probably feel a way about this. And I like the whole sequence where Alexei is still trying to pump the Wheaties cereal with them on the cover because Alexei to him in his mind he thought that was everything, and you could tell the lady at the store wasn't really feeling it. She didn't really care. And then what did you think of that last credit sequence with the Fantastic Four? Reveal?
Exactly. The Wheaties, because when I went to go see it in Hollywood, the Wheaties, I was like, why is this program, sidebar, guys, my sponsor sent me out there, is in a Wheaties kind of box kind of format. Then we saw at the end of the movie, that's why. As for the Fantastic Four, and you went and you took it from me, damn it. I think it's all, whatchamacallit? I think all four, hold on, Arch.
No problem.
Sorry about that. I think all foreshadowings need to actually do this at the end credit scenes of all of the Avengers movies, period. Like, give you a tidbit of what's coming soon to come. Like, they're bringing back they lost sight of. Remember how the Infinity War, or at the end of one of the Avengers movies, and Thanos got the Infinity Glove? Well, if you want something done right. And we were all stoked for that. That's that kind of energy they gave to me, basically, in a nutshell.
Yeah, but with that being said, like I liked how I don't know how I feel about the whole competing Avengers factions things going on with Sam Wilson still trying to form his version of the Avengers, and he's suing for copyright infringement versus Bucky and all Thunderbolts version of the Avengers. I thought that was just super weird and I still don't know how to feel about that. Like why Sam and Bucky are beefing over Avenger factions is weird to me.
It's weird, right?
I don't understand. Right? Insane. That doesn't make any sense. If anything, why don't you just merge?
That is I never considered that question. That is a very good one, though. Like, why? Why
you would think, if anything, Bucky, because remember, Bucky said he did talk to Sam and it didn't go well. I would have thought Sam and Bucky could have worked this out.
To be honest, their conversation in
A New World,
Captain America 4 went really good.
Yeah. So then to hear them like beefing and falling out over the Avengers factions, I thought was super weird, personally.
Beef is no. You're right. They are beefing, but the situation wasn't beef. They just went in two different directions. It's not like Charles Xavier and Magneto with their idealisms with mutants. They just like, hey, I want to do this, but I want to do this my way. okay, well, I'm doing it my way. It wasn't, you know what I mean? Am I making sense? They weren't really ticked off at each other. They just
But yeah, I don't know. Like, we don't know like how the conversation went out exactly. All we know is what he just said. It didn't go well. That's all. So that's all we know.
Mm-hmm.
Bob doesn't want to. Is very reluctant to go into Sentry mode because he risks bringing the Void along too. So so right now, unfortunately, Walker still has the bent shield. Why won't they just get him a shield made of adamantium?
They have the money for it. They can. I don't know. Like, are you talking about in the comic or who he was sponsored by?
No. I'm talking about in this movie. Like, you remember, Walker still had the bent up shield. Even
I know it had scratches and everything. It was just it's a piece of shit. I think it was made out of titanium. And you know what? You got to remember, depending who his backers are. Personally, as a mercenary, I would put money towards getting a shield. Vibranium's hard to come by. I can see that. Adamantium's easier to get.
Well, the next best thing would like vibranium is hard to get. The next best thing would have been adamantium, since they introduced that in Brave New World and the trees went through. So why won't
it's a whole island of it now?
Yeah. So why won't Val just make Walker and Red Guardian some shells made out of adamantium or something like that? I don't know.
Yeah. Got nothing.
That's what I didn't understand too. So I thought that was super weird. But anyway, I hope we get more of our questions answered in Doomsday. Like, how are the Avengers going to merge? They're not going to have no choice but to merge.
They have no choice but to do all that stuff. I agree with you.
Maybe we'll get that answer when Doomsday finally comes out. It got pushed back 7 months, by the way, which sucks.
Yeah, that part. So.
But then again, the plus side is it may be better than originally intended. Now they got more time to develop it, so maybe that's the plus side. But I still feel a way, But then again, Marvel had to pivot because of the whole Jonathan Majors Kang situation. Disney Marvel had no choice but to pivot. So I'm just very curious of how this. The other thing is, I don't know how true this is too. Is Doomsday going to be split into 2 parts? I'm not talking about Secret War.
It is.
I thought I remember seeing where Doomsday supposedly maybe split into 2 parts. I don't know how true that is. I don't.
Well, it got delayed too. There's a delayed date on that too now.
But here's what I'm saying, CJ. I think there's too much to cover in just 2.5 hours. In just one movie. They got
it's gonna be another ending.
2.5 hours, in my opinion. Even 3 hours, I don't think that's enough.
Yeah.
Because
that's not gonna be enough. You can't do that. 3 hours. Even if they minute 3 hours, you can't. Yeah, there's gonna be a split. They're hiding something from us though.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is maybe since Doomsday got pushed back to December of 26, maybe part 2 can come out in May of 27. I don't know. Then again, we don't know. I don't know for sure if that's what's happening. But I remember reading somewhere, and I don't know how valid and legit those posts were, but I do remember seeing somewhere that they said it was going to be split in 2 parts, but I don't think that's true though, as far as we know.
Yeah.
But it should be. What I'm saying is it should be though. I feel like it should be split into 2 parts. Kind of like how the Matrix was with Revolutions, Reloaded and Revolutions. Same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's going to be, I like that. That might be a thing. You're onto something. Seriously.
That's what they should do. Whether that's going to happen or not, that remains to be seen. But there's too much ground to cover, with the cast and all, everybody, because they still didn't announce everybody that's supposed to be in this movie. At least that's what they said. At least that's what they claim. So overall, what did you think of the Thunderbolts overall? Did you enjoy this? Do you think it could have been better? Or
out of a 10, a 6 point, no, not even a 6. I ain't gonna lie to you, about a 5.5. It was a fun ride. It's just, I would have loved to see more of it because they're still together. You know what I mean? Just like the Taskmaster thing. I own front. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way, just like you. Not the best member of the squad, but still though. It's ridiculous. That's it. That's unless my theory is correct, they're gonna have another new upgraded Taskmaster 2.0. Yeah, I don't know about that shit.
And that remains to be seen. We don't know if that's gonna happen or not. I wouldn't hold my breath.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hold my breath for that, but if it does happen, cool. But the other thing is, the guy who directed this movie, I know I'm butchering his name, Jake Shire. they're looking at him to do the X-Men reboot too.
Yeah.
So whether he does or not, that remains to be seen. I would give this movie, I'm rated about a 6.5 out of 10, maybe a 7. Some people felt like this was the best MCU movie as of late. I don't know if I can go that far. Do I think it was better than Brave New World? Yes.
No. Really? You think so?
Brave New World, I didn't hate Brave New World, but it wasn't the best. I got to be honest about that. That's not me taking shots at Brave New World, but I think this has some more interesting concepts. Sam Wilson needs to go ahead and take that serum and stop playing.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
But I do think it's better than Brave New World, but not by much, though.
Not by much. Yeah. Okay, I'll buy that. I'll give you that. But, you know what? Looking back in retrospect, yeah, because there was a lot more stars. You know what? That's not fair. You just made me convince myself to 6.5. Brave New World was a 6 solid to me. Yeah, because it was well written. You know what I'm saying? Introduced us to the Serpent Society. Looking back, what you just said, and then Bucky was involved, and then so many pieces involved. The new Black Widow. Yeah, man. No, you're right. I'm not thinking clearly.
I feel like one of my gripes with Brave New World, I feel like Giancarlo Esposito was wasted.
So wasted, man. That's what I'm saying. The Serpent Society, there was like 5 of them for starters.
I was so excited for him to be in the MCU. I'm glad he's in the MCU technically, but I feel like they didn't do enough with his character in Brave New World, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he even needed to be in the movie. His character needed to be in the movie. If we're being really real, I'm not even sure about that.
Yeah. Sorry, Arch. Give me a minute.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
So, people in the comments, let me know what y'all think about the Thunderbolts. What is your opinion? How does this compare to Brave New World? Do you think this is the best MCU movie, period? Mm-hmm. I have some friends and associates who would say that. So let me know what y'all think in the comments. Is there anything else you want to add to this, CJack? Any other?
Sorry about that. No, it was a really good movie. Share, comment, subscribe to the Arch Assessment, and thank you for having me on board. I'm looking forward to the new phase. We're starting phase 6 now, right?
I think so.
Wait. Yeah,
I think phase 6, correct me if I'm wrong, people in the comments.
Yeah.
I think phase 6 started with Brave New World.
Fantastic Four or after?
4, maybe? I can't remember. I got to look it up. I don't remember exactly, but it should be
starting. Anyway, yeah.
Somewhere around this point. But not that it's important. It's whatever. But yeah, so right now, I hope this movie can at least break even, because right now it's not on track for that. So far, as of today, it's only 355 million deep in the box office, global box office, that is. This movie cost around 180 million to make. And in order for the movie to be profitable, it's got to do 3 to 4 times its budget. This movie needs to hit 400 to 500 million just to break even. And it's not even close. And unfortunately, it's not close to 500 yet. So this could potentially be considered a flop. Despite all the talk on social media about it, it's not there yet in terms of the numbers. So depending on its entire theatrical run, we'll have to wait and see. But right now, Brave New World is not considered successful either, but it squeezed out 415 million globally, even though that's not impressive either.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, even Quantumania did more than that. Not by much, but it did.
Yeah, no, you're right about that, though.
So Disney Marvel still has a problem here. Deadpool and Wolverine was an anomaly. That was a whole separate thing. So that leads to a whole bigger issue where Marvel is starting to become a victim. Disney Marvel is becoming a victim of its own success, where like the weight of its stories are starting to collapse on itself, I dare say. I think part of the reason why Deadpool and Wolverine was so successful is because it's on an island of its own. And then, not to say that some of these people don't care about the characters in these other MCU films, but Ryan Reynolds and all the other writers have a passion for Deadpool. They love the writing. They have passion for the characters and all that stuff. Whereas some of the complaints with some of these Marvel writers is that they brag about deviating from the source material and all that stuff. And I think that's becoming problematic. So I don't have any quick answers right now on how the MCU can fix itself. We still need to see what Doomsday and Secret Wars are talking about, and what the MCU will do after that remains to be seen. That there's obviously going to be more of an emphasis on X-Men, the mutants, maybe cosmic MCU, like with the Annihilator.
We're definitely in the cosmic realm. They just want to figure out how. Hell, Galactus is coming. Come on, but yeah. So.
Yeah, but I remember reading somewhere they're going to talk about the Annihilators too. They're talking about making an Annihilator.
True. I would like to see that because I don't know much about them, and I heard
the Nova Corps.
They touched that on Guardians of the Galaxy, but they were a joke though. They got to be taken more seriously.
Right. So anyway. There's a lot of stuff they can do, but it won't be the same. So I don't want to go deep down that rabbit hole yet, but Marvel still got some work to do. Yeah. And they're still coming out with mixed results. So we can only speculate right now, like what Fantastic Four we do, and we're going to be going in a 1.5 gap between, well, at least a year.
You're not wrong.
Between Fantastic Four, the next Marvel movie after Fantastic Four right now, I think, is Spider-Man: Brand New Day.
That's it,
and that's not until July of next year.
That part, yeah. So. All right.
So again, one last time. So people in the comments, like, follow, and subscribe. Please follow me at the Arch Assessment. Help me get to 500 subscribers.
Please.
CJack Productions. Follow him at CJack Productions. Help him get to 30,000. I think that's the next.
There's a 30. Let's crawl before we walk. Yep. Yeah.
But let us know what you think. Let you know so your opinion. Tell us if we wildin'. Let us know if you think this was the best MCU film to date. Let us know if you think it's trash. We welcome all opinions, and we will see you guys later.
Peace.